the Royal Blue Podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Analysing Everton, your tactics and analytics podcast courtesy of the Royal Blue channel. My name's David Hughes and I am joined by Josh Williams. Josh, dare I ask, how are you?
Good as always, mate.
Yeah, I know. I keep wanting to think of something a bit more original, but I can't. So for now, it'll just have to be asking how you are.
I keep wanting to come in sad, but I just can't do it.
Well, I'm sad anyway. Yeah, difficult. We're recording on Wednesday, and yesterday was the Newcastle result.
The morning after the night before.
Yeah, literally, yeah. Might call the podcast that this week, actually. But really difficult pill to swallow, drawing 2-2 with Newcastle after leading 2-0. We will come on to that, but not yet. We'll quickly have a glance over West Ham. I say glance because it was a bit of a nothing game, really. It was kind of how we expected. And it already feels a little while ago, even though it was only on Saturday. Then we'll get on to Newcastle. And then there's a few questions from listeners that we'll address at the end of the show. But we'll start with West Ham, which turned out to be a fairly even and close game, and it's fair to say that's pretty much what we predicted, wasn't it, last week?
Yeah, it's what I expected personally. I think I actually said 1-1.
Yeah, probably did, yeah.
And
actually, yeah, I think you did. To be fair, you've got your 2 out of 2 today. On
2 out of 2 this week.
Yeah, well done. Yeah.
Shane walked the betting like.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But yeah, I think David Moyes went into the match with a degree of a little bit risk averse, a little bit safe, and maybe Everton played similarly. Obviously, Moyes extends his record over Ancelotti, which we said last week, which is a bit mad.
I believe that.
But yeah, I think both teams a little bit too concerned about making mistakes and focused on basically playing safe, and I think the expected goals catches that. I'm sure you'll mention that now.
Definitely, yeah. Obviously, it was a 1-1 draw. Expected goals had it as a 1.6 for Everton and 1.34 for West Ham. Or was that the other way around, actually? No, it wasn't. Ignore me. Either way, though, that's it. That highlights that both teams created really a similar amount of quality chances, I guess you could put it.
Separated by very little there.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly that, yeah. So there was very little between the two in terms of chances created. West Ham actually had more shots than Everton. They had 14 with 6 going on target. Everton had 10 with 3 on target. Very similar possession numbers, almost 50-50. Yeah, it was just a pretty even game, I thought. West Ham were arguably the better side in the first half, and Everton came into it in the second, no doubt after a bit of a telling off, I suppose, from Ancelotti. But it wasn't the greatest performance by either side, and I think it's fair to say that the 1-1 draw was fair on the day. I actually thought that Everton, particularly in the first half, were given a lot of the ball by West Ham and probably could have done a little bit more, but as Ancelotti talked about after the game, they were really slow in possession.
It's funny if you look at the expected goals timeline. Have you seen it?
Go on, talk us through it.
It's almost identical for either team. The first half an hour was virtually dead.
Yeah.
Both teams have a fairly strong chance. Then there's about 10 minutes, then both teams have another fairly strong chance. Then a few small chances follow. So it was almost like one team does something, the other team would respond, then the other team would do something, then the other team would respond. And it was very much like weighing up how you perform almost based on what the opposition were doing for both teams, as playing that safety and who blinks first sort of thing.
No, the best way to describe it is probably 2 reactive sides playing each other.
I'd say that, yeah.
And as I said, I was kind of hoping Everton would have a little bit more, but I also wasn't surprised that they didn't. West Ham seemed happy to just concede possession, and with Everton not being able to break them down too well either, it kind of just set up for the game that we saw. It was slightly frustrating that they conceded from a set piece again, though. It was a free kick, and it was it's just continuing theme of just not being great from set pieces. Luckily this time, Everton managed to bounce back fairly quick thanks to Calvert-Lewin. I think it was important to get a response before half-time. But fair play to Calvert-Lewin again. We talked about it a little bit on the show, but he's popping up with goals.
Do you think the set piece that Everton scored from was planned? Obviously, the corner's hit towards the near post, isn't it? And it's headed on to Calvert-Lewin, so at the back post, Calvert-Lewin finishes.
I think they are getting better with the set pieces.
It just looked a little bit... Calvert-Lewin's timing was almost too perfect for it not to be planned.
Yeah, so...
Do you remember it?
Yeah, I'm just bringing the goal up now. Because let's see the movements within. So yeah, we've got Dean over it now.
It's just the way it's knocked on, and Calvert-Lewin's timing's perfect.
But I don't want to take nothing away from them. Yeah, no, actually, that's a good point. I'm watching it now. If you look at Holgate, he's standing on the goalkeeper prior to the corner coming in, and then
the way he knocks it on now, he's definitely not aiming for the target.
No,
the way
he's
he knocks
not.
it
No,
on.
yeah. And then look where he steps. So he comes to the edge of the 6-yard box before. Is that Declan Rice he comes in front of? It's just coming in now. So it looks as if he makes almost a short diagonal run right in front of Rice. Gets a flick on and Calvert-Lewin attack. Yeah, you know what? I completely missed that. No, I like to think normally I'm on the. I'm keeping an eye on Everton set pieces, but yeah, that looks like something off the training ground. Good goal. Fair play, because it's something I've been applauding Liverpool for recently in their set pieces, and that looked to be a good little piece of play by Everton. It's nice to see, actually, isn't it, those little
it's obviously encouraging taking care of the 1% and things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're going to concede at your end, then at least be able to do the same at the opposite end. Do you know what I mean?
But in all, it was kind of what we expected. It was a game that you didn't want to lose. It was a bit of a game where no team was really taking the initiative. It was in the balance, so it was important to at very least not lose the game. They didn't. They got a draw, and all things considered, it was fair. But as I said, after that, Ancelotti made some really interesting comments that I just want to touch on now. He said, this was after the game, "At this moment, we are not playing vertical. We were playing a lot of balls back instead of playing forward, and that is how we can improve. We can play more vertically. We want to build up, but when you have the possibility to play forward, you must play forward and do it quick. If you are slow at the back, you have less possibility to find space in the opponent's half, and that is something we have to improve." I was watching the West Ham game, and I could see it straight away in the first half that they were just too slow and build up. But that's encouraging that Ancelotti's almost calling the players out there.
It wouldn't even be encouraging for me from that perspective. What's encouraging for me is that he's picked up on that as something he needs to work on. I think that's a really, really positive quote, that. Because I do think that Everton squad is suited to that type of football, vertical football. I don't think it's entirely suited to slow possession play where you're breaking down a team with subtle, long, intricate moves. I think Everton are more suited to
combination play and stuff. Doesn't really work.
Yeah, I think Everton are more suited to quick 1-2s, play forwards as soon as you can. I suppose you could label it as direct, but without it being direct on the floor.
Yeah,
you see what I mean? Which is obviously what you want.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think Ancelotti's just referencing there how it can almost be too predictable when you're that slow. It's quite easy to defend against. Obviously, the idea when you're attacking a defensive team is to disrupt them. Disrupt the shape, create openings and things like that, and that's going to be difficult to do if they're in a stubborn block and you're moving the ball from side to side slowly. So I think they're definitely positive comments. I like the comments, and I think we saw gains the following games. To be honest, the following match against Newcastle.
Yeah, well, we'll move on to Newcastle because I thought it did seem to work, or players seemed to take note of it, or they've been doing some work on the training ground between the two games. Because I was, if I'm being honest, Josh, before this game, I was a little bit apprehensive. Not because I particularly rate Newcastle and think they're fantastic as a side, but they're one of the sides that we cover regularly, aren't we? And we know that they're a side that tends to do well in terms of sitting in low blocks. You know, they don't have much ambition in terms of going forward, and on that basis, they can be hard to break down. And if you're a side who is slow in your build-up play, don't play enough forward passes, those two together normally plays out in a frustrating game.
Yeah, no, I was equally as apprehensive as you was. Just as not because slating Everton or anything like that, but just a case of Newcastle is the type of team that are fully aware that they're limited, and they play to that. And it's not the most adventurous, it's not the most exciting to watch, but to play against, it's not easy. It's not enjoyable to play against, especially if you don't have those creative types in and around the pitch who are just naturally inclined to forge openings, and they've got that vision, they've got that technique to execute a pass that the average player wouldn't be able to. And I don't know, I just envisaged it being potentially the type of opponent that Everton would struggle against, but obviously with the slight style of play change that seemed to happen, that wasn't the case.
Yeah. So before we get on to obviously what happened at the end, we just talk about the performance on the whole, because that's something obviously we said in the very first episode. It's what we like to focus on. It's too often, I think, results can kind of shape narratives, but we try to look beyond the results. And on the whole, it was a dominant performance by Everton from start until, I'd say finish, but we'll say the 91st minute. They did really well in breaking through Newcastle. The XG finished 2.06 for Everton to 0.6 for Newcastle, but it is worth noting that up until stoppage time it was just 0.11, which is virtually no threat from the visitors.
That's one shot, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's one shot inside the penalty box, maybe, or to the edge of the penalty box.
Exactly. Which, if you're limiting a team to that, then you've been almost faultless.
Yeah,
I'd say, at Premier League level at least. Everton 15 shots, 8 on target. Newcastle had 8 with 4 on target, but I think 5 of them come in
after the 86th minute. I think it was
86th minute. So yeah, it was just a really dominant performance. I thought Bernard had a fantastic game. I noticed Everton seemed to be attacking in almost a 4-2-2-2 formation, which saw Bernard and Walcott tucking in. From there, you'd have the fullbacks pushing on, but it just seemed that those two were able to occupy the spaces in between the defence and midfield, and they were picking up the ball a lot, particularly Bernard more than Walcott. Bernard was picking the ball up in really good positions and making things happening, and obviously it was him who assisted Keane for the first goal. So I thought formation-wise, tactics-wise, Everton got spot on.
Yeah, I think that was a perfect example for me of what Ancelotti's about. It's not strictly about one philosophy or one style of play or whatever. It's more about what have I got at my disposal, what are their strengths, weaknesses, and play based on that. And I think the formation certainly highlighted Everton's strengths and pretty much masked the weaknesses.
Yeah.
Obviously, offensive fullbacks, basic centre midfielders that are fairly limited, so you just give them quite a disciplined role. Wide midfielders that are inclined to cut inside, and then obviously a front two that are quite a bit of a handful, really.
Yeah.
And I think Everton just played to that. I picked up on what you said there about Bernard, drifting inside, allowing Digne to advance beyond them, almost as a left winger. And then once Digne gets to that point, Bernard cuts inside as number 10 and offers a link between the midfield and the attack. Obviously between Everton's 2 centre midfielders and between Everton's 2 strikers. So it was just a system that worked. Every player was able to play his own way, and it seemed, I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that Everton don't really have many players that are able to complement one another. This seemed to be a performance that suggested otherwise for the first time in a while. I think a lot of players just seemed to play their natural game, and it all just worked in cohesion. And it's the first time I've seen that in a while at Everton.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's it gives you more food for thought in terms of Bernard, doesn't it? Because I think we've agreed that we like Bernard, but it's just his sometimes lack of general output in terms of goals and assists, that can be a bit of a problem. But
I was going to say, you say that, but an output player, it doesn't necessarily just have to be goals and assists. And he was a player who, I don't think he registered an assist in the game. Is that right? Did he?
What, yesterday?
Yeah.
He puts Keane's in, yeah.
Okay, well, even if he doesn't, his passes into the box, I had a little look at. He generally tends to average about 3.97 passes into the box per 90. Against Newcastle, he attempted 10. So obviously that's trebling his usual output. So it's not necessarily, I mean, mostly I suppose it is finding the net or providing a goal-scoring chance, but if you're finding the box that much more, then you're offering an entirely different element to the team rather than just playing neatly and in a tidy way, which you wouldn't doubt. It's just whether he's providing a difference on the pitch. But if you're finding the penalty box, or if you're attempting to find the penalty box 10 times, you're offering some kind of penetrative threat there.
Yeah, exactly that, yeah. He, if this Bernard that played yesterday could play at that level consistently, then I think he'd be a shoo-in for the starter. And it'd be a case of trying to find spaces for the likes of, I say Richarlison can kind of play anywhere, so you'd probably move in, but Iwobi would be struggling for games time, I think, if they want to play him on the left, because when Bernard's playing like that, he's fantastic. But as you just touched on, his average was around just over 3 passes into the box per 90.
His average attempted, per 90 was 3.97.
So obviously it was 10 yesterday, which is great, but on average that's not that great. And then if you're also not contributing much in terms of goals and assists, then it does become a slight issue. And that's what we're finding with him. Yeah,
I mean, Ancelotti's comments, I think, did you read the end of his comments? The very, very end?
I think I might still have it open. I'll just read it out.
I like the very end of what he said.
He said, sometimes when you say to a player that we want possession, they think possession is the target. The target is not possession. The target is always to score goals.
Exactly. That's exactly that. And that's my problem with Bernard. Sometimes keeps the ball. It's obviously very, very clean player. The ball's under control. Always, first touch is immaculate and things like that. But I remember Pep Guardiola said about Raheem Sterling that, when he came in and he started taking charge of Raheem Sterling, he had to remind him that, like, every action he did, the goal is there, though.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He always
it's a really good point.
The players tend to play, and they play nicely, they play good football. But how's that relating in terms of providing a difference towards finding that net? Because that's the overall goal in football, to score goals, to find the net. So some players just need reminding, I think. That's the case. I'd like Wilfried Zaha sometimes to be reminded of that.
Yeah.
Bernard's another player like that. And that's another reason why I thought that quote from Ancelotti was really, really encouraging, because obviously he's not interested in the nonsense, if you like. I mean, probably a bit harsh to call it nonsense, but you do want the output, you do want the end product at the end of the day. Yeah,
it's a really good point. That's it. And I think what we've just talked about there is sometimes, anyway, Bernard in a nutshell. Okay, he's put some good performances together recently. Hopefully he continues, but I'd say even on his quiet games, he'll still give you little moments of touches in and around the pitch, or out wide. But as you said, doesn't necessarily translate into chances or even in creating chances. And hopefully that's gonna start changing, and maybe drifting more into a central position can work. Obviously he's quite lightweight, but I think if you have physicality around him, then you can balance those lightweight players in your team, can't you?
Yeah. There was just several times where he received the ball in between the lines with his first touch, and his second touch was look up forwards, who's through, who can I find closer to goal, that sort of thing. And I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago, would he have thought immediately, where's the goal?
Yeah.
Or would he have played sideways to Sidibe, something like that? So,
or I'll beat this man once or twice again and I've done my bit. You don't know.
It's just about, having that possession and making sure it matters and making sure you're using it rather than just keeping the ball for keeping ball's sake.
We'll, rather than finishing on the negatives, we'll just touch on them now, because it'd be better to finish on positives, because, as I said, I think when the dust settles, it will be seen as a good performance, even if it is 2 points dropped. What are your thoughts, Josh, on the final few minutes in general? Have you got any? Do you want me to go first? What are you thinking?
I mean, I couldn't get my head around it, to be honest. I didn't know. I don't really know what happened. I can't really explain that one. You can put it down to mentality all you like. You can put it down to, knowing how to win, switching off. I don't know what it is. It was a weird sequence, and it seemed as though once Everton conceded the first, it seemed as though up until the following set piece was conceded, it seemed as though Everton players thought the match was over. Hence why Delph just boosted into the sky. Maybe I think he expected the referee to blow, or something like that. But I don't know, it was a weird sequence of play.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was mayhem, and what I will say is there's been a lot of talk about Ancelotti's substitutions and how they were wrong, and if certain players were still. One of the questions that we might not get round to today, I do apologise because it's from a guy who regularly sacks Mingo. This kind of covers your question a little bit, but there's been talk of people saying, if X player was still on the pitch, if there's more outlets, that wouldn't have happened. In my opinion, that was a perfect performance almost for 91 minutes. It wasn't
I would agree, yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't as if Newcastle came on and battered Everton for the last 15, 20 minutes and they needed outlets in possession or this and that. It was a bit of a fluke first goal conceded that you can say your bit on in a bit, but I thought it was just a goal that they conceded, unfortunate goal, yet another set piece, frustrating, but 2-1. Nothing to worry about, just relax, and you've got about a minute of the game with added time, just see it out. The minute, though, that the players lined up for the restart, I could see the panic. There was a complete disorganisation in where they were. For me, they seemed like they were pushing up a little bit too high. They had Delph dropped really low, and I was thinking, surely you're not just going to hoof this ball when you receive it. In my opinion, you should have received it into feet, turned, played it into Pickford's feet, let Newcastle press the ball, and then once the press comes close, cleared it up the line then and aimed to just put it out for a throw right out in the Newcastle half. Pickford does that week in, week out when he's not even trying. So should there be no issues with that? Because that kills maybe 30 seconds of the game. And then Newcastle from their own half have got to try and work themselves back towards the Everton goal. Instead, we give the ball straight back to Newcastle and it leads to a foul and there's complete disorganisation from the foul. The ball comes in, Pickford comes, then leaves. A header's missed by Davis in there. It's just a mess. But one thing I will say is I don't actually blame Pickford for the being behind the line thing.
No, I mean, I saw obviously the still photos of that on
Which
Twitter
don't
and
look
things
good.
like that. No,
Yeah.
they don't look great at all, but I do think he anticipates a shot coming, and rightly so, because the shot is coming. And consequently ends up behind the line because of the way that shot pans out or something like that. I think you can have slight issue with the first goal though. I agree he should have came for the cross, I think it was. But his punch isn't convincing enough.
For the first goal,
For the first goal, yeah. His punch isn't convincing enough. It's not... Didn't have enough authority on it for me. Obviously it stayed within the penalty box and it comes right back and it ends up being scored. And I must be honest, I do think that, last week you asked me about Pickford, I think, and I said that he's the type of player who he embraces the drama and all that kind of stuff. Traditional Barclays, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that was that whole sequence of play is the type of sequence of play that I would associate with Pickford, where he's bouncing everywhere. And I'm not particularly blaming him for this one, as I said. It was just maybe the punch that you can have a bit of blame on him for. But I do think it's the type of sequence that, I don't know, does it... I don't know, do you see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm with you, yeah.
I'm not entirely sure it happens with a goalkeeper who keeps himself quiet.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lack of calmness around him.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
And when
that's what I'm getting at.
that's what you want from a goalkeeper. You want a calm aura because it's so chaotic in and around the penalty box anyway.
Yeah, like I saw him. It just made me think. Then I saw him make a save the other day. I think it was a great save, but he gets up and screams at everyone. Have you seen it?
yeah. I think it was against West Ham, wasn't it? Where
Yeah, just come on, get back on your line, mate.
Yeah.
I don't see the need for it. It's too old school spotlight. As I said, traditional Barclays where the ball's just constantly up in the air and crazy things happen. The game is more. It seems now generally more focused on taking care of the 1%, not leaving things up to variance, not leaving things up to the elements of chance. He I kind of feel like he enjoys that sort of thing. He enjoys the whole
just
the madness of the game and fans going crazy and all stuff like that.
No, yeah, I agree. There is a lack of calmness, and I think, as I said, I don't blame him for any of the shots or standing behind the line or anything, but I have an issue if people watch the goal back. You'll see that the ball, it's looped very high into the box and it takes a while to get there. It's coming into the penalty area. A commanding keeper just comes straight, and because he does think about it, but then he bottles it, goes back in. Commanding keeper just straight out there in the air, arms, catch it. You know, if anyone comes in the yard, you're going to get a foul. We know what it's like now with VAR. And that's it, game done. 3 points in the bag.
But if not that, a punch that at least clears the box. You can't punch it and it stays in the box.
See, I was talking about the second there. The second goal. So the first, I agree. And I'm just conscious of going too in on him.
Yeah,
right?
no, I agree, because this is probably just one of them moments, isn't it? But
No, I think you're right, but I'm trying to play devil's advocate, I suppose, on the punch and be like, you know, but the... is actual when if you watch the goal back, the free kick comes in, it's looped, it takes a while to get there, and he goes to come out, ends up going back in, and it's ultimately beat the mayhem ensues. Are you bringing it up now?
Yeah, I've got it up now. I mean,
I'm going to commentate
once the mayhem doesn't ensue, that's just
so look, he goes to come there.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
he leaves his 6-yard area. He gets that far out, but then proceeds to stay. So
yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, once a shot comes in and bounces off the inside of the post, every single player virtually is inside the box there.
Yeah.
Anything can happen there. I mean, that's just madness. Whether you should let it get to that as a team is a different question entirely. But I do think for that goal specifically, it's unreasonable to blame him.
Yeah.
Personally.
Do me a favour, go back while we got it up there and what's your opinion on him coming out to collect this ball here? So, for those who can't watch, I apologise. So, it's taken short. It's looped in now and plenty of height on it. Now,
yeah.
If that lands on the corner of a 6-yard box there, a goalkeeper with, 2 seconds maybe to come out and collect that.
Yeah, I actually think he can get that, you know.
He could get that easily.
Yeah.
As I said, he catches that and it's...
I personally think anyway that the whole 18-yard box is the goalkeeper's.
Yeah.
Not the 6-yard.
If a ball's fizzed, I have no issue with the keeper saying, no, I'm going to stay in my 6-yard box in case I misjudge it. But when it's looped like that, I mean, he takes that down on the edge of the 6-yard box there as a touch. But we won't stay on Pickford because we might... I've got a feeling we might be talking about him again shortly. I want to finish on some positives. So, Calvert-Lewin now into double figures in terms of league goals. He's become a legitimate top striker now in the Premier League, isn't he? More than just he's becoming like a legitimate good striker.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to see what he's going to become, to be honest, because this does seem to be one of those periods where a player comes of age and develops himself to the extent that he becomes established. And I think I'm most interested to see how he does next season, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because next season he starts the campaign as Everton's number 9 fixed. Not just a shirt number.
Yeah.
Starting, knowing he's going to start predominantly every single match. And he'd be going into the season with a level of almost self-esteem. You see what I mean? And above all, I mean, can't think of many positions on the pitch that demand confidence like a striking position. So I do think it's interesting to see how he's going to develop, and including the man alongside him, I suppose.
Yeah, I was just about to go on. So just quickly on Calvert-Lewin, would you? I don't know. I'm not putting pressure on him because I don't really care about this stuff, but I'm just putting it out there. Would you put him down at least within a shout of going to the Euros this year?
I probably would, I think, yeah. Especially considering Rashford's suchen noch, Kane's suchen noch. And I think Calvert-Lewin's the type of striker that, he's quite adaptable. He would be useful to virtually every Premier League team. He's not one of those, is he, that's a specific type. He could lead the line for Liverpool. He could lead the line for City. In terms of his work off the ball, at least, certainly.
Yeah.
Obviously, I suppose his possession work would need a bit of work for those.
Of course, yeah, for those sides.
For those sides, yeah. But he's the type of player that, I mean, even if he was to come as a bench option to be brought on the 75th minute for Kane when England have a lead, he's a dream to bring on, simply because of his work rate, his ability to cover ground,
running behind the fences, down the flanks, making runs into the flanks.
He seems to have a real engine on him as well. He never seems tired.
He is. Yeah, his stamina's unbelievable. But we'll go on to Moise Kean, because finally, Josh, he scored his first Everton goal.
Saw the celebration.
Yeah, he saw it. Yeah, it was the first time we saw it at the Gladys Street, but it was it was a good goal, wasn't it? It was a good finish.
Yeah, it was. He took a few shots during the game, I think, as well.
Well, I'm just about to read through because it felt like a real standout moment in his Everton career, where it kind of felt like he's arrived and he's putting in a performance to wear the other goal.
But what I said a couple of weeks ago, you need to use that now, for me.
Yeah.
So even if in the next match he's got a fully fit squad, for me, Keane has to start.
Yeah, I agree.
And Richarlison maybe then starts on the wing.
Yeah, I agree.
But with a player that age, who's obviously took a bit of an early knock, keep him in the side now. See if he can do it again. See if he can build himself back up.
Well, he's clearly, specifically at that age, it's a confidence thing, isn't it? And he was high on confidence. He felt like he was from the kick-off, to be honest, but obviously with the goal as well helped. And he scored his goal in the first half. He had 3 shots, all 3 hit the target, which is good.
But all 3 inside the box, out of interest?
It won't say, I don't think.
Click the XG.
So, yeah.
Wow, one was outside.
One, but you know what? I remember that shot, the one from outside. Really good hit.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that, bottom left corner.
Yeah, drove well and forced to save out the keeper. He attempted 6 dribbles, okay, only 2 come off, but he was a handful. He won 3 fouls as well, which highlights just how difficult Newcastle were finding to kind of control him. And he just seemed like 3 progressive runs. He was good on the ball as well. He just had a really good game. He was busy. He was strong, powerful. He was a genuine goal threat. It was a real standout moment for them, and I can only agree really with what you've just said, that Everton have got to build on that now. They've got to keep playing him. If he can score again on in his next match, which is I think Watford, 2-2, suddenly he starts becoming a bit more of a genuine asset this season.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think a performance like that can offer an insight to the manager for, how and what to build around next season, sort of thing. If he can see that Calvert-Lewin and Keane work off each other so well, that then means next season maybe Richarlison plays on the right. Maybe Everton adjust their transfer spending accordingly because they've got that player. Things like that. So I think Ancelotti just week to week will be gaining an understanding of the players he can build around, the players he can trust, the players that are worth given time, things like that. And I think that performance showed that Keane's one of them.
Does it? I feel like it does change your kind of transfer aspirations, I suppose, when, like at the start of the season, say you were a month in and it dawned on people that Keane wasn't potentially at the level to succeed in the Premier League, or he wasn't fit enough, or he couldn't adapt as quick as they'd hoped. Calvert-Lewin obviously hadn't proven himself to be the striker that he is at the moment. Straight away you would have been thinking January Everton are going to have to buy a forward.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Whereas now you think you've got Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, who plays up front and does fantastic there, but he can play anywhere. And now if Keane can put 2-3 goals together over the next 5 games, suddenly it becomes less of a priority, and you're not almost forced into a corner, are you, in terms of having to go and spend a lump sum to try and bring it forward in.
Yeah, that's it, and that's the perks of, you know, being patient and giving players time, sort of thing. Like, obviously there's a tendency to go into the January window to fix short-term problems and things like that and get in temporary solutions, but sometimes those problems, you know, answers come out of nowhere. Yeah. And players like Calvert-Lewin come of age, Keane starts to step up and things like that. Liverpool had it with Divock Origi. We tried to sell Divock Origi in the summer before, I think, or something like that.
He was a bit of a laughing stock, wasn't he, at one point?
Yeah, you just weren't getting in the side. For that season, I think, actually, when he scored against Everton, I think he started the first something like 5 games, not even in the 18-man squad for the Premier League. But because Liverpool didn't sign a real rotation, you know, backup player for the front line, he eventually got a chance, took his next one, and now he's a fairly solid, fairly respectable backup option for Liverpool's team. And I think that's just another type of thing that thing does tend to happen if you're patient with players and if you don't just see a gap in your squad and immediately dive on and think, who have you got to buy then quickly? I think you can give some players time to see if they're actually capable of filling these roles.
Yeah, spot on. So in all, anyway, I think, frustrating to drop 2 points, but good results, plenty of positives, and hopefully that's what people will focus on. It's easy to be, you know, very pessimistic, but Everton look to be going in the right direction, and fingers crossed it continues. As there is no game to preview this week, we put out on social media to ask if anyone had any questions, really. And we actually got said to you, didn't I? It'd be quite embarrassing if nobody asks any questions. But to be fair, there was actually quite a few, to the point where we haven't really been able to get through them all. But me and Josh have took a few each. Would you like me to start or you start, Josh?
Have we got the same amount each?
I think we have, yeah. If not, then we'll just say, yeah.
Right, I'll start then.
Yeah, okay, mate.
So my first question is from Trevor M. Going forward, when Richarlison is fit, does he go back on the wing with Keane and Calvert-Lewin up top?
Good question.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting dynamic, and it's obviously a positive one for Ancelotti to have, a positive problem. If Keane can keep that performance level up, I would do that, yeah. I would go with Richarlison on one flank, and when everyone's fit, although Bernard played well, I would personally have Iwobi on the opposite flank. Or Bernard, I mean, I'm not too fussed on that at the minute. But I think it would offer an interesting dynamic because Richarlison can obviously play both sides, and compared to Bernard or Iwobi, Richarlison's the bigger goal threat. He's more inclined to dart into the channel, whereas I think Iwobi and Bernard are more inclined to drift into a 10 space and start linking play with cute passes and things like that. But I think, say for example, Everton come up against a team where their left back is weak, the opposing team's left back is weak, you can put Richarlison on one flank based on that. It will be on the opposite flank based on that. And then if it's another week, it's a different thing, and the right back's weak, switch them round again, sort of thing. Like, say for example, I'm thinking, West Ham, perfect example. West Ham are a team that always play with a midfield two, always Noble and Rice. Noble's always inclined to press and leave Rice on his own, and as a result, a gap tends to develop behind Noble. So in a match like that, you would play Richarlison on the right, Iwobi on the left, and that would allow Iwobi to drift into the space behind Noble to receive passes. So I think it's an interesting little dynamic, tactical dynamic that Ancelotti's got there in terms of having that front two and being able to use Richarlison on whatever flank he deems is the most vulnerable.
Yeah. I think that's the benefit of Richarlison being so versatile, isn't it? Without
top
losing
player.
any of his ability. Yeah, interesting. I've got one from Matthew Barry, who's actually been very supportive of the show from the start, so appreciate that, mate. he said after Pickford's 2 mistakes last night, debatable. Where does he rank in mistakes leading to goals versus the other Premier League keepers? Or is it just in the Newcastle and Liverpool games he becomes an awful liability? It's very interesting that he flags the Newcastle and Liverpool games because they tend to be the most emotionally charged fixtures. So that's kind of reiterating the point that we were talking about earlier. But I've had a quick look on the Premier League website, and they've got him as making 5 errors that have led directly to goals over the past season and a half, which is, I believe, the joint highest with Martin Dubravka, who obviously we saw in action at Goodison on Tuesday night. So, yeah, it doesn't look good for them. I mean, the only thing I would say is with that data, I don't really know the parameters of it. I don't know, you know, where the mistakes were, or it's very basic what it is on the website, but it's got him as one of the worst anyway over the past 18 months. But, you know, we talked about him last week as well, saying this, when you compare his goals conceded to his XG, and when you look at his save percentages as well, I mean, there's no other way to put it. He's poor. He's performing at a below average level. So yeah, there's definitely question marks over them, and those 2 fixtures that you highlight, Newcastle and Liverpool, they tend to be the most emotionally charged games, and that's what he seems to struggle with most. So yeah, you think we need to see big improvements, otherwise he could be on his way out over the next 12 months.
Okay, so I'm not going to lie, I've just Googled how to pronounce this fella's surname.
Is this Marco?
This is Marco, and then Pountain.
We'll ask him. You know what? He seems to be. He's quite a nice fella on Twitter. So we'll find out if it was pronounced correct. That was good effort by the sound.
No, I'm betting it's not. I think it's a Finnish surname, but it's difficult to pronounce from an English, certainly from a Scouse perspective. Will the midfield setup and player roles change when Gomez and Gbamin are available? How do you see them changing from Delph, Sigurdsson, Schneiderlin, Davis? I think I personally see Everton's midfield remaining mostly disciplined for the most part, and that's simply because of the players around that midfield and the players that are currently contracted to the club in central midfield. So if you've got fullbacks as offensive as Dean, you know, Sidibe, even Coleman, Baines, they're offensive fullbacks. And then you've got wide midfielders who are inclined to go forward and cut inside. And you've got centre forwards who are obviously very active at the top end of the field. At the end of the day, you need balance somewhere. You need a player who's going to, you know, focus on what's going to happen when the ball is lost. A player who's going to keep balance. A player who's going to keep the team compact and that sort of thing. So I think regardless, Everton's centre midfield players, whether it's Gomez or Gbamin or the current lads, I think they'll all perform roles that are quite risk averse. As I said, disciplined, just staying behind the ball mostly, and executing movements that are like predominantly sideways rather than making box to box runs into the penalty area. Yeah, that would be my take on that, I think.
Yeah. No, I'd probably agree, to be honest. Question from Follow Everton. Who, fairly goes in on specifically the second goal, saying that second goal is horrifying. It was all desperate and last ditch. All the composure and control, authority over Newcastle that we had throughout the game went out the window. What do you put it down to? Is it mentality, tactics, or players simply not being good enough? Certainly, out of those 3 options, it's mentality for me. As I said, if you watch the whole sequence from the restart up until the goal, there's a real fear factor within Everton, within Everton's defence, within the players. There's a lack of composure. I think that even though they conceded the first with a minute or 2 to go, I think there was with some composure, the clock could have been ran down quite easily there. But it wasn't. It was all manic and panic and just hoping that the game ends. Yeah, bad decision making right from the restart, and I think that's what it comes down to. Over the next few months, Ancelotti really needs to focus on just building the mentality somehow of these players. Otherwise, we're going to have to recruit heavily in the summer for players who just have a little bit more composure. And I think that's what it comes down to. Yeah.
Have I got one more question? I was just looking at it because of just looking back at the second goal there, because just curious as to whether Everton's line from the actual free kick was too deep, because it seemed as though the ball was very easily placed into the penalty box. But
but if you look at it, whether you think it's too deep or not, look how unorganised it is. So you'd have,
and they take it short as well, to be fair.
You have half pushing out, half dropping. It's just a mess.
Yeah.
I'm sick of looking at this goal, mate.
I know. I'm just trying to work out what happened, because it is chaos.
I think we have one more question, but I should have signed it to you. You've signed it to me, so we'll do it between us. But I mean, it's one of them. It's one that we don't really know the answer to. Gareth Latter said, "Why Everton so bad at set pieces?" In truth, I don't know.
Yet.
Yeah. I mean, I have had a quick look, and it's hard to answer. You know, people who follow me on Twitter probably noticed I had a piece out recently about Ancelotti's brought in zonal marking again, but it is different to the setup that Marco Silva had. It looks to be a lot better, frankly. It seems to be a lot more secure. But I think some of it just comes down to a lack of control. You know, the players aren't assured in themselves from set pieces. The keeper doesn't command very well. And interestingly, what I did notice, okay, centre-backs aren't the only responsibility from set pieces, but Everton centre-backs don't seem to be great in the air.
I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
To be honest, related to this.
Well, I've actually got some numbers on it. So there's 75 centre-backs who have played over 500 league minutes this season. And of those 75...
I was just going to get a similar thing, yeah, go on.
Well, I was going to say, of those 75, Mean and Holgate don't rank inside the top 40. The pair of them are somewhere between 45th and 60th in terms of aerial duel success rate.
Yeah. What was the set piece? What was it like last season? Conceding set pieces?
Bad.
Was he?
Yeah, it was the highest return in the Premier League.
Okay.
And a lot of that was we fell down to zonal marking from Silva's system, and there was aspects of it again.
The reason I asked that is because Kurt Zuma is a player that shows up slightly better. Last season he was about 15th in the league for aerial duel success. This season he's even better than that. But
isn't he one behind Van Dijk?
Yeah. Well, Van Dijk's an interesting point, to be honest, because I obviously support Liverpool, and we had similar issues. I mean, a lot of ours was from second balls, to be honest, but we have conceded very few since getting Van Dijk in. And if you do have that aerially dominant player, you do tend to concede very few of these. Like even that late second goal that Newcastle scored, for me, Van Dijk puts his head right on that and just gets rid.
Yeah.
I can't really understand why Yerry Mina isn't that figure, to be honest, because I think he's 6'5", is he?
Yeah, well,
6'6".
Yeah, he's big, and
he should be an aerially dominant figure.
Yeah, and when people bought him, well, I think he was bought to be that, to be an offensive threat as well, and he's neither at the moment. I noticed, you know what? Before we round the pod up, because I think this would be interesting for listeners or watchers. Last I checked, right, Yerry Mina ranked inside like the top 3 for headed efforts on goal this season. Let's have a look, because he still hasn't scored per 90. Yeah, so Yerry Mina has had 18 headed shots on goal this season, more than any other Premier League player in the division, and he's still yet to convert one.
Yeah,
which that for me comes down to technique. And I've watched some of them back, and his heading technique is poor. He missed a big chance actually yesterday. People might remember it. He had a good chance to nod one home and he didn't. But
the thing is, if that's the case, he could almost be used as almost a distraction or like an obstacle. Because I think opposing teams would be naturally inclined to look at Mina and determine him as the main threat.
Yeah.
But if he's not aerially that good, he could go up into the penalty box as almost a decoy.
Yeah.
With a view to instead finding the head of Richarlison or something like that. I've seen teams do this.
Yeah. You're spot on. One final question anyway, and then we'll wrap it up. Jack McGovern, who's a good friend of mine actually. He's a wall, but he's a nice lad. No, I'm messing. That doesn't bother me in the slightest, but for some reason he gets wound up by it, so we take the mick. He said it'd be interesting to know who attempts the most crosses in the division, team-wise. Which will be because Everton do seem to take a lot of crosses throughout the game.
Yeah, my answer would be Everton, to be honest. I mean, the official answer is Manchester City, but that's with a lot more of the ball. So I think if it was per possession, I think it'd be Everton. City average 21.7 crosses per 90 per match. Liverpool 19.9. And then Everton in third on 17.2. But as I said, those two teams at the top there tend to see a lot more of the ball, so they're not crossing as frequently as Everton seem to be with less possession. It's also interesting to note that Everton seems to favour crossing from the right rather than the left. So
see, that would surprise a few people. I think it surprises me because Dean's considered one of Everton's main kind of threats from crosses, but clearly it's...
No, that's the team have apparently hit 50 more crosses from the right side compared to the left.
There's a guy who's done the most. It's Sidibe, is it?
It's... Lucas Dean's hit 107 in total from the left. And from the right, Sidibe's at 46.
Yeah.
So Lucas Dean's way out in front there on 100 and whatever that was, 107. But he's obviously the only person doing it then from the left, whereas plenty of, like, Walcott's hitting a few, Coleman's hit a few, Richarlison, Sigurdsson.
Some more variety from
Iwobi.
that side.
But on the left, yeah, it just seems to be Dean on his own, just putting in plenty.
Interesting. Brilliant. Well, yeah, sorry we couldn't get any more in, but thanks for the questions that you did, and any that we didn't address we'll maybe try and address in a later show. But thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week to look ahead to Watford, which looks like it could be a tougher game than it might have looked a month ago, but maybe one Everton can still win. Until then, Josh, thank you very much.
Thanks, mate. Nice one.
All right, take care, everyone.
The Royal Blue Podcast from the Liverpool Echo.